Hello, my lovely edge dwellers. Lucca here, Power Sorcerer. This is Ask Lucca Live, episode 23 on August the, quick check, August the 22nd. I can't believe that we've been here for 23 weeks. So we're about 2 minutes out from starting live. So hi, Jen. So I'm giving everybody a few minutes to arrive. So if you're watching this in the recording, then you'll want to forward about 2 minutes in to get the real start. But this is the I'm gathering us all together start. So welcome. It's a beautiful day here in Vancouver. Our little heat wave is over, and which makes me much happier. And I'm all good to go. We've got about 6 official questions for today. Bonjour to you too. We can do this in multiple languages. And if anybody wants to add a question, then feel free to tuck one in. We may have time for it at the end of the day today. So we'll see how many other people show up. We've got 3 right now, which is great. If anybody'd like to say hello and let me know you're here, that's wonderful. And if you'd rather remain incognito for now, that's okay too. Yeah, I'm a little raspy here, which is an interesting development. So I'll keep talking just so that whoever's joining us can tell that you've got your sound is working, which is important. I'm assuming my sound is working. I tested it and it seemed to be all right. I've got the big magnificent microphone now, so hopefully it makes the sound better. So if you're just coming on, you are indeed in the right place for Ask Lucca Live. And we'll be starting up in about 30 seconds or so. We're just giving everybody room to arrive. Hi, Desiree. We're beginning to get to know one another now. That's great. Hi, Flora. I know Flora's disguise of Fiona now. Can't fool me. At least you can only fool me for a certain number of weeks and then I catch on. So, I'm going to go ahead and get us started and assume that everybody else will join as and when they have the time. So this is Ask Lucca Live. I'm Lucca Power Sorcerer, and today is episode 23 on August the 22nd. Which is great. And we've got a number of questions today. One of the things that I'm finding is that gradually, as we evolve with these sessions, my guides have a little bit more to say before we even get started. And sometimes I know what it's going to be ahead of time, and sometimes I have no idea. And today is one of those days when I have no idea. So essentially what I'm doing as we do these sessions is I'm tuning into your higher self and mine, your guides and helpers and mine, any dead pets and dead relatives that might be around, any angels that might be around, not from a religious perspective, but from a sacred perspective, and any intergalactic beings who might be around. And I'm also checking into each person's energy field that sits around them, which is like your fingerprint, essentially. So I have pinned to the top of the group some guidelines to keep in mind as I do this, as I do the reading. What I say to everybody, hi Taralee, as I begin this, is that your gut feel about what's right for you is more important than anything anybody can tell you, and that includes me. Because anyone who reads your energy reads it through their own. And anybody who channels is channeling, I may be channeling other entities, I may be channeling your higher self, but I'm doing it through mine. And that means that I can misunderstand so one of the things that I always tell people is that if I'm picking up symbols, I'll tell you what the symbol is and then we'll see if we can interpret it, because Otherwise, I may interpret it incorrectly. And I've had people come back to me weeks later and say, well, the banana, well, we didn't know what it was then, but now I know what the banana is. So I trust that we'll get that right as we go along. Anything about times or dates, you need to put in a holding tank and wait until you get validation on it, because time and space are not what we think they are. And that also means that any information I get about other lifetimes are other and not past, because from everything that I've learned over the last 30 years, our other lifetimes are lived concurrently with this one and not consecutively. So it's a bit like radios. They're all broadcasting at the same time, but we can't listen to all of the stations at the same time because it would just sound like a bunch of noise. So we pick and choose what we hear. And so part of doing the reading is picking and choosing what we hear. And we pick up information, not just, what other lifetimes have I had, but how are those other lifetimes affecting me in this present moment? And is there anything I can learn from them that will help me here, or anything that I can do here that will help me there? So it's interesting. When it comes up, if it comes up today, then I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Also, I'll stick around for a few minutes at the end of the session to answer any questions anyone has about what services I offer and how to access those services, and any other questions that you might have about the process of how I do all of this. So we have a few minutes at the end, and I won't include that here and now because a lot of you have used my services, and so you already know. So here we go, getting started. They're not saying anything to me that I need to convey to you just in this moment. So I'll get started with the questions, and I'll see what comes. It may be that that more information comes a little bit later on in the session. So this one is left over from last week's call from Myrna. Myrna says, I've made some friendship changes. Was that a positive choice? One of the things that the team up there would like me to pass along to you is how important the phrasing of your questions is, because you're already setting your intention in the way that you ask the question. So this was a yes-no question, right? It's, let me just pull it up here. I've made some friendship changes. Was that a positive choice? Well, the short answer is yes. But do you want more information than that? Yeah, probably you do, right? So just in the same way as if let's say you're reading tarot cards, or you're choosing a card out of one of your card decks for inspiration. If you ask a yes-no question, you're not going to get much from the cards, although they'll still come up with the right card for you. But if you're doing a spread, say, a yes-no question is not going to get you much that's really relevant to you, unless you just want to know, should I go ahead with this or not? But this kind of question, you're not going to get much if you ask it this way. However, if you're doing muscle testing, hi Judy, you're going to want to. One of the ways you can do it is this way, and I can give you more information about that if you're interested. But when you're muscle testing, you have to ask yes/no questions, because if you ask either or questions, or if you say, "Can you tell me more about the things I need to take into consideration in making this decision?" your muscle testing is not going to do that for you. Excuse me here. The throat stuff, I don't normally get this, and I've had the same amount of liquid as I normally do. So there's angels on my mug here. Care of my mother. This is giving us information about the throat chakra. And so the throat chakra is about the expression of will and our communication skills. But willpower sits in the jaw and in the throat chakra. So that's important for us to know. So it's a little raspy, a little scratchy today. So I'm guessing if we have a theme today, it's about our self-expression. And so asking questions like this is part of our self-expression. It's about expressing ourselves in a way that we're going to get the input, the feedback, the acknowledgement, the validation that we need. So that's a long answer to a to a short question from Myrna about friendship changes. Yes, it's a positive choice. We are all in a period at the moment, the entire planet, around getting much, much clearer about what's right for us, what we want more of and what we want less of. So every single decision that we make, whether it's, am I going to have my lunch now or in an hour from now, is saying yes to something and no to something else. And so we want to be very conscious of that right now, as we move into these times, and especially around how do we want to be treated? How do we want to be seen, interacted with, acknowledged, appreciated, and given input, the ability to give input. So if you're working in a team of people, like in a corporation or a foundation or a volunteer group or anything like that, even in a family, then you want to give positive reinforcement to what you want more of, and withdraw your attention from what you want less from or less of. So that means sometimes you have to be really forceful around it, and you may have to say no, but sometimes you can just move your energy away from it. And that is just as effective, especially when you're working with kids, right? They can be, we often distract them. We give them more of this and less of that. So we want to be doing that as adults around what we want to have around us in our lives. Really, really important. The decisions that we make around that right now are going to bear more fruit than they ever have before in our lives. So that's good for us to know. Second question is from Jen. Jen says, is there any message from Dr. Glenn Morris, who's passed away? I did Kundalini work with him, plus lots of spider presence lately. I have lots of spider presence in my house too. I'm going to start with the spider presence because I had a great big spider, one of the wolf spiders, walking. They scuttle. It scuttled out into the middle of my floor the other night, and I know that the spiders are part of my guidance system. So they're around me weaving energy. It looks like spider webs, and it is spider webs, and I have to clean them up afterwards, but they're also weaving energy around me that is to help me to balance and take care of my own energy field. And they had a message for me. And so I know with spiders now to ask them if they have a message for me. And that's a yes-no question. As an example, I say, do you have a message for me? If I get, and my body goes like this. So everybody has, so you might do it with a pendulum. You might have just a knowing. Some people do a lean forward or lean back for yes or no. But you want to do a test with yourself first to know what is your yes and what is your no. So the way I teach in my courses is like this. So if it gives way easily, it's one, and if it holds, it's the other. And you don't want to be ripping your fingers out of their sockets to get the answer. It's very subtle. So I said to the spider, do you have a message for me? And the spider said yes, and gave me the message. And I was dubious because I said, yeah, you've given me that message before and it turned out not to be true. So what do you pardon me if I don't trust you very much at the moment, because I can be quite irreverent with my guides. And the spider said, yeah, this time you can trust it. I said, do I need to do anything? And the spider said, no, you don't have to do anything. So that was another yes/no question. And so then I told the spider that they're only allowed to be in here if they stay in their corner. And it then proceeded to scuttle under my chair. I felt like Pussycat, where have you been? I've been to London to visit the Queen. Pussycat, what did you there? I frightened a little mouse under a chair. Well, I was the little mouse that was frightened by this gigantic spider underneath my chair. So the second question. My phone's doing weird things. Jen said, any message from Dr. Glenn Morris? No. That was quick. No question. No. It is there is a memory-based energy field that you can enter into with Dr. Glenn Morris, who's not Dr. Glenn Morris, wherever dead people are. I point out, but I don't know if they're up. Hi, Tracy. So, no, there isn't an answer, but yes, you can participate and you can ask questions of Dr. Glenn Morris, whatever Dr. Glenn has to. Dr. Glenn, where he is now, is not a he. What gender doesn't matter, and he's accessible. So he's kind of like if you're doing a master's program or a PhD, you've got office time with the professor. You can go and get office time. So I hope that is useful, helpful to you. Third question today is from Amanda. Amanda says, what is important for me in the next 6 months? Question formulation. That's a very big, broad, general question. Sometimes that's entirely what you need. But you're not going to get every single thing that's important for you in the next 6 months, but you are going to get the things that are sitting at the top that would be advantageous for you to pay attention to right now. So, important for you in the next 6 months. Well, they're saying let's start with the next 1 to 2 months because things are going to change in that time, and they're not exactly pinned down yet, the changes that are coming. There's still, because everybody on this planet has free will, so we're still kind of sorting out what we're going to be doing here. So in the next couple of months, they'd like you to get really clear about what you want more of and what you would like less of in your life. Right down to, maybe you do this by doing a vision board, or you might journal it, or you might draw it, or you might create a little altar for yourself. And don't put the things on the altar that you want less of. Put the things on there that you want more of. Focus your time and energy and attention on the things that bring you joy. And so that means if there's a problem that you're working on in your life, be very attentive to how you are interacting with that problem. So if you're getting joy out of the problem-solving process, that's great, do more of it. If by focusing in on it, you are making yourself feel absolutely terrible, then you either need to shift your frame around, reframe it so that you can see it in a more positive way and then work on it, or you want to find a way to let go of it, or get some help. Because sometimes you can ask that question, yes, no, is this my problem to work on? And if you get a yes, then you want to say, to what extent? So that's when you do your 2 baskets and 10 tennis balls. And you say, okay, in this situation, how many of these tennis balls are mine for me to work on and how many belong to someone else? And in this situation, Amanda, I get that three of the whatever it is that you're working with right now, 3 of them are yours to work with. So decrease this by 70%, and then see if you can focus in on the 30% where you have the ability to make a difference. And if you don't, if it's just things that you're worrying about, release them. Let them go to someone else where there is, either let it go into the ethers or hand it to someone, delegate it to someone, ask someone else for their input, their guardianship, their whatever it needs to be, so that they can take care of it. Sometimes something that's bothering us, we can't make headway with it because it isn't ours. So I suspect that that's the case for you, Amanda. All right. Question. So that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing for you, Amanda. And the rest of it you can't know about yet. But what they're saying is follow what makes you happy. Follow what flows. Follow what moves easily. That's shiny. That gives you joy. Moira. The next question is Moira's. Moira says, I have lost sense of how to use my intuition to guide the next part of my life. A lot of people are feeling kind of wobbly around. I don't feel like I'm getting direct input. Bit like me saying to the spider, yeah, you've told me that before and it turned out not to be true, so I'm not sure if I trust you. So Moira says, and I'm wondering if I have what I long for. If to have what I long for, do I have to leave the place I have called home for several years? Well, the short answer is it's not absolutely determined yet, which is probably why you're not getting a clear answer about it. But some change is in the works for you. So what you can be focusing on at the moment is what you want to get rid of and what you want to have more of. So you might be sorting, you might be getting rid of stuff, letting things go, so that when it comes time for a move, if it comes time for a move, you've got less stuff to deal with. And the stuff that you want to go to other people, you've actually given it to them. Like, give it to them as a present if that's what feels right for you. And if it turns out that you don't need to leave the place that you're in, you're going to feel clearer. You will have cleared the decks. And every time we clear the decks, we make room for more to come in and fill the hole, if that's appropriate. So it may be that, another, in the case of Myrna, where you've cleared out relationships, new relationships will come in because now there's seats at the table. So that's what I'm getting about this for you, Moira. But Moira, also, there are some ways in which your intuition speaks to you and you're either not trusting it or you're not paying attention. Synchronicities are a big one for you. So you might think that they're just annoying. In fact, I think you probably do think that they're just annoying. But synchronicities say a lot to you. So write them down, because they're pretty big. They whack you over the head. And then think about when else you've had either that synchronicity, that kind of synchronicity before. So for instance, some people get repeating numbers. And think about what happened during those times. And what advice would the you then be giving you the you now about listening to those messages? So that's a big one for you. The other things about regularly checking in, I have the sense that you have that. But the synchronicities come when you're out and about in the world. And they give you that way the information that you haven't been paying attention to, that you didn't know to pay attention to because you didn't know it was a message. I get them in what draws my attention outside of what I'm doing. So sometimes it's the ads on sides of buses. And because they're little catchy phrases in the advertising, but they never relate. When I notice them, they never relate to the advertising. They relate to what it is I've been pondering, or grappling with, or trying to make a decision about, or it's so I need to pay attention to what I have been calling for. In other words, what was my intention to know more about, and then watch what I'm getting. Because if you're an outfielder and you don't want to be standing in baseball analogy, right? And I'm not even great at baseball, but if you're standing out there in the outfield, do not stand with your hands in your pockets, because an outfielder is supposed to catch balls and pitch them to wherever they need to be, right? So if you've asked for something, stand with your hand open and imagine that everything that comes along could be the answer to what you've been calling for. All right, so I think that will help you, Moira, I think. Next question is Yvette. Yvette wants to know, how long will it take for scientists to find a cure, meaning pills, antibiotics, or whatever, for the COVID virus? Interesting question, because this is one that affects all of us. What I get about this is that we're treating this virus as an enemy, and really all it is an agent for change, and the change is the change that we've asked for. So collectively, subconsciously as well as consciously, the change that we've asked for. So the virus is in our, not just our systems, but our systems in particular, because we've asked for this change. The virus is altering things in the biology of our bodies. So for some people, this is a shift to the other side, because remember, we don't die. I mean, we die, but it's because we're not in our physical form anymore, but we're moving over. So for some people, this is an agent for them to do that. And I can't judge whether a person should die or shouldn't die. The collective fact of so many people dying is something that we need to be paying attention to, not in order to assign blame, but to change. And so this is showing us where we need to make changes. But the where is about us and not about the virus. The virus doesn't care if we make a change or not, but it does the things within us that will alter our biology so that we can adapt to higher level frequencies. So if we see the virus as an enemy, then we bring weapons to the table. And the same thing is true as in our society. If we see change as an enemy, then we bring weapons to our society. And we try to kill what is threatening to us, or incarcerate it, or punish it, or whatever it is that is our chosen method in that moment. So this is very much, and that doesn't, I'm talking on the multidimensional level here. On the three-dimensional level, then, we're dealing with police brutality, but the multidimensional level deals systemically. It deals with group ideologies. It deals with intention. It deals with the movement of energy, which is the kinds of things that the physicists have been talking to us about for a long time. If we choose to look at it from that perspective. So, and I'm channeling this, by the way, because I would not have known to put it into exactly these words. So I'm learning as the words are coming out of my mouth in the same way that all of you are today, and all of you who will listen to this are. So there isn't going to be, I mean, they're working on creating a serum or whatever it is that's going to be injectable or, taken in pill form or whatever it is. But that is not going to help us. It will buy us more time. But if we buy more time and we don't change, it's not going to help with the shift. And this is really about a planetary shift. Some of us are going to shift. Some of us have shifted already. Some of us are going to shift very shortly. Some of us are partially shifted already. Those who choose not to shift will stay on the radio station that's broadcasting what fits with their values and their worldview, and they'll stay in the three-dimensional world. The rest of us are going to move, and I say us because I'm definitely ready for this. The rest of us are going to move on to a multidimensional level, and we won't see, recognize, interact with those. Not like we're going to shun them. They just won't be part of our awareness. We don't notice the things that aren't important to us in terms of how we interact in the world. So that's what this piece is about, Yvette. This is about, it's not about getting a shot or a pill or a whatever it is. This is about us shifting to a higher vibration level, and the higher the vibration level, the less likely this virus is to interact with us in a way that is negative. And that doesn't mean that the people who get sick with it deserve it, or that they are not vibrating at a high enough level. They may be vibrating at a very high level, and it may be important for them to have this virus, in which case their constitution will react to it that way, and that may be the way that they're learning right now to make this shift, or they may be helping to teach other people. So we can't judge. I cannot sit and say this person should not have done this and that person should have done that differently. All I can say is what works for me and what doesn't work for me. And whatever serum they come up with or pill they come up with, I will have to decide at that time whether it's appropriate for me to take it. And we'll all have to make that decision for ourselves, and then we'll see what the societally agreed upon rules are going to be about all of this. And so we'll have some choices to make. But bear in mind that we're making the choices right now by the way we live our lives and how we choose to interact with people who have a perspective that is different from ours. Are we helping them to change their minds, or are we forcing them to change their minds, or are we ridiculing them because they're not changing their minds? Because all of that has to do with the vibration level that we're experiencing in the moment. So glad to hear that you got that, Yvette. That's wonderful. And you can go back and listen to it again if you feel so moved. Last question today is from Desiree. Desiree says, now that my efforts have shifted to a move and house purchase, is this the shift? And with an exclamation mark and a question mark. So let's see. Yes, this is the one. Don't get too attached to how it unfolds. Know that you've set your intention very clearly here, and keep your intention not so much on how it unfolds, but other than that it unfolds gracefully, but that it unfolds. And then go with what shows up, because some of this may have to do with surprise ways in which exactly the right thing can happen for you that you would not have expected it to unfold that way. So be open to that, because it may be the best way for you. And even if the very thing that's sitting in front of you isn't the best thing, it may be happening that way so that the next thing that happens can be the best thing. So in the same way as I was getting angry with the spider and saying, I'm not sure I trust what you're telling me right now. It was very emphatic. It was very clear. It could not, they didn't send a little spider. They said a big spider. I was not going to miss this one. So when the big messages come, then Desiree, I want you to listen to them. Not I, but they, right? They're speaking in the I of your higher self and your guides, because you've got a lot of them around you right now, and you're a family unit. So you have not just yours, because it's going to affect the whole family. You have everyone in the unit around you. You're all of your guides and helpers are working. So you've got quite a gang. There's a big gang around this, and you are a family where what you do affects a lot of people. You're quite tied into your community, in whatever form that shows up. So know that when you tune in, you're not just tuning into your own guidance, but also the team's guidance. So they're saying broaden your perspective a little, and know that you have input from more than one source, lots of people with free will, all influencing this, but also lots of help, because it's not just your team. Okay. So that's all our questions for today, and that brings us to 2:00, which is wonderful. It was perfect timing the way it worked out. I will stick around now for a few more minutes and let you know what my services are. If you'd like to have a little bit more information about what I'm doing, what I'm offering, and how to get more information about that. But this is the end of Ask Lucca Live for today. And as always, thank you so much for coming and participating, and for trusting me with your questions. I will continue to do this through the fall. At the moment, that's the intention. My guides are telling me that we're probably going to be going until about Christmas. So feel free to hang out with us on a Saturday afternoon, or come back and Desiree's just left a message here about it's fitting with how you're looking at it, which is great. So come back on Saturdays, or listen to this in the recordings. I'm sprinkling them around on social media so that you can get hold of them. They will always be here on Ask Lucca Live in the group. If you know more people, what my guides are saying to me is it's time to expand the group in order to send out more of this vibration into the world. And make this more easeful for all the people who need a little bit more ease right now. So if you know somebody that you think might be a good fit in this group, then by all means reach out and invite them to join the group. I have been posting a little bit more in the group because my guides told me that I should give you through them some more reinforcement for helping you to be intentional and helping you to find more ways to listen to your own intuition. So that is, I am putting little things in. You might have noticed that I made a few posts this week, and I will continue to do that whenever I get tapped on the shoulder to do that in the coming week. Not to bother you, but to give you a little reassurance and help you to bring this back top of mind. And please do not beat yourself up if you don't have time every single day to check in with your intuition. The more you do it, the stronger that muscle will get. But every day is a new day. And if you miss it one day, come back and do it the next. If you only have 5 minutes, just do it for 5 minutes. This is meant to be joyful. This is not meant to be a big stick that I cudgel you over the head with and beat you up, make you feel ashamed if you haven't done it. It's not like that. We're looking for freedom and ease here. So thank you all so much for joining me today. And I will see you next week. And until next time, remember that you too can speak intuition. And now I will transfer over, move along to what my services are. So I have two sort of branches to my services. One of them is doing readings and channeling like I'm doing here at the moment. And you can access that in a number of different ways. One of them is a ping mini reading, which is if you need a quick in and out, you need a sort of like the kinds of answers we're getting today. That's exactly the kind of information I can get for you. In a ping mini reading. So those are the only ones that have a fixed price associated with them. So they're 15 minutes for $30. And you pay that at the time of booking online. And then you send me 2 questions and I'll answer them for you. I'm not going to get the answer to the meaning of life necessarily because that is something that takes a little bit more time, but I will get ones that we can answer in 15 minutes. And if you're not sure, ask me and I'll tell you if it feels like it could fit in that amount of time. And then the next offering is an hour-long reading, which gives you a snapshot. They all do, but this one is a snapshot in time. It's what's affecting you right now and in the coming few months, and what would be really helpful for you to understand or pay more attention to or work with. So that's that one. And all my rates, I have opened them up so that you can intuit what you should be paying me, except for the ping mini readings. But everything else is negotiable. You might have something that you can barter with me. You might want to pay in installments. I'm open to all of those things. So I did a blog post about this so that you can hear more about what my philosophy is around it and how you might interact with it. And that's at the bottom of my menu on my website. Is the link to the blog post. So, and also my rates page, there's something about it there and also a link. So you can have a look at that. I'm also doing reading circles, which is where I do a group of people. I think we're sort of looking at, 6 to 10 people right now. I do it on Zoom. So you can see everybody. So it's just like when I come to someone's home and do it in a circle, but we're doing it in a virtual circle instead. So I'll keep doing that until it feels like it's appropriate to start going back out into people's homes. But the really nice thing about this is that we don't all have to be in one place. So if you live in another country, if you live in another city, then you can still participate in this. So if you're the host, your job is to gather together the group for the event. and publicize it to those people, and I give you the material to publicize it with. And then we all come together. People pay online, so you collect their names and their email addresses, and then I send them an invoice, and they pay ahead of time. And then we get together, and it's depending on the size of the group, it's usually around 2.5 hours, 3 if we have a bigger group. And there's always a theme, and there's always something interesting that you get from listening, just like here. From listening to what I tell to the other people in the group. And I spend more time talking about how I got to where I am and how I do what I do, and what I've learned about this process. And I do a little bit of channeling, meta channeling about bigger issues like I did here today. I do some of that in the group as well. So that's the reading channeling end of things. And then there's the other piece of this is what I do to help people to learn to work with their own intuition. So I have 2 ways that I do that. One of them is in coaching. So it's niche coaching, I call it. I'm coaching around you using your intuition effectively in your life and in your work. So using it professionally, because I have used it professionally for many years, and I know how valuable it is. So that is... that's something you can do an exploratory session with me, so we actually get some work done and you can try it out, see what it's all about. And that also, payment is by intuition right now. So we can talk about that. I'm not going to shame you. I'm not going to get offended and not talk to you again if it's, it's safe. It's safe to come and talk to me about this. And then the second way that I do this on... For the teaching piece of it is in a group that is online as well. I'm waiting to get a group together right now, and I call those power circles. And so we do. There's a more formal curriculum and more formal structure to it. So we come together in half-day sessions where we work on Zoom and we interact with one another, and it's very practical. And that too, you can do an exploratory session with me. You can book it through my booking page on my website, and my website is powersorcerer.com, which is SOURCERER. Deliberate misspelling because it's a double entendre. And you can find out what it feels like to work with me, and we can talk about all the details and also about how the payment can work. So I'm happy to talk to anybody who's interested about any of those things anytime. Just go to my booking page and you can find a time. And if you're making a time with me, I suggest that you give me 2 time date options, just in case the one that you're looking for is gone by the time I get your message. So that's, I think, all you need to know. I do these sessions. These are free, always. So you can partake of this if this works for you, and also if you're having limited cash flow at the moment, this is a nice way for you to be able to get help and encouragement, and without having to open your pocketbook. So I'm really, my intention right now is I want to do this work. Now is a good time to do this work. If the money is an issue, then we will work it so that it works for you, because that's the most important thing. That's great. I look forward to hearing from you, Tara Lee. That would be great. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for joining me and for sticking around at the end. My love goes out to all of you, and until next time, remember that you too can speak intuition.